The most common question people ask me these days is how I use AI to become more productive. Those real productivity gains, not the demoware, the things that give me hours back every single day. Well, it's time to share some secrets. In 10 years of being a software developer, with the last 3 focused on AI tooling, I've tested out hundreds of different tools and built out some great workflows and automations to improve my productivity. On top of the dozens of tool use conversations, I've been hired as a productivity coach, and I've built out the AI Academy at Box One Ventures, which has upskilled the entire team on improving their productivity. So in episode 55 of Tool Use, brought to you by ToolHive, I'm going to teach you how I've leveled up my productivity with the use of AI. These workflows will give you hours of your life back. The automations are going to allow you to focus on what really matters. I'll be going over my digital brain setup, how I interface with my computer, how I build these hyper custom automations, and a bunch of my tools. Let's get into it. So obviously you can't have a conversation about leveraging AI to become more productive until you start talking about which models you use, which LLM providers get you the best gains. It's the one thing people go back and forth with all the time. So for me, the model that I use the most is all of them, which I know is kind of a non-answer, but there's a good reason for it. You don't want to get locked into building on a specific platform, because once you get locked in, it makes it a lot harder to shift. And as these models start changing the way that prompts affect them and changing the ways they interface with tooling, there will be a divergent where we're not going to have the same level of systems being model agnostic as we used to. So it's going to be very important that you start getting used to the way that they act in different situations. Form that intuition. Start realizing which models work better in some situations, because not only do new models come out that's going to keep changing, but the providers of the models actually will change the amount of compute that they give towards resources. They might nerf them at certain times or change the way that their test time compute works. So it's very important to just get a general intuition. When you give an input, what output do you expect? How does it change across providers? So if you get locked into using one single provider for everything that you build, you're going to lose that flexibility and observe how different models work. So it's important to think of it less as choosing a team that you're on and more of aligning it with, in your real life, who would you go to for advice? Depends on the topic. Maybe it's a friend or mom and dad or all of the above. And you really do not have a static answer for who's the best person to go for advice. And now we have access to intelligence that's just an API call away, a chat message away. And this is something that's brand new to us. We don't know how to best use it. We're still figuring it out. And everyone has different preferences and different methods of interacting with it. So there is no best answer. And the spectrum of possibilities changes every single day. And even though that might feel overwhelming, reflecting on it really shows how incredibly miraculous it is that we've been able to turn math and electricity into intelligence. And we want everyone to be able to benefit from it. And there is no silver bullet. So the best advice I have is use it, play with it, explore, experiment, immerse yourself in it, and see what happens. So my general setup is I have Claude Desktop and Jan running on my computer. Claude is for the big things, Jan is for the easy questions. I personally think it's worth the extra effort to direct your questions to the appropriate model, because do you really need that massive model to get a definition or translation? Local models use way less electricity. And for the rest of the LLMs, I use web interfaces. I don't really have a reason. It's just kind of fallen into my habit. Like, I'll still use OpenAI, Grok, Gemini. They all are in the regular routine of models I check in on. Sometimes I use DeepSeek or Hermes, but the open source ones I tend to use locally. And I really don't have justification for this yet. It's just what I've fallen into. I do try to stay on top of testing new things. So that'll probably change as time goes on. I encourage you to play as well. I will say though, one big piece of advice I have is to set up a system so that you can easily switch between these models and test them out in comparison. Create your eval suite, create your AI service, check out my GitHub for some examples of those. But if you're able to take control over the experimentation process to actually efficiently see when a new model comes out, how it works with your workflow, how it compares to the other ones, you're going to be more rapidly able to adapt to these changes. So don't just think about which model to use, think about which systems you need to set up to compare the models. So at the snapshot in time for your specific use case, you can easily discover what the best model is. But if I had to choose, I'd probably say Claude. The next thing I wanted to touch on is the aspect of my digital brain. So you might have heard people talk about the second brain, which will be a system set up to store and retrieve their notes, so they're able to get everything consolidated in a digital way so they can easily search and retrieve things. On the age of AI, we can take it so much further. So I really encourage everyone, and you've probably heard me say this 100 times before in the show, to try out Obsidian. Obsidian has many perks, and especially in the age of AI, it becomes very powerful. Before I get into the specifics of how I use Obsidian to create my digital brain, I just want to go over 3 principles why I've chosen Obsidian over all the rest of the note-taking apps. So the first is the file over app principle. What this means is you control your data. The app is simply an interface for you to interact with that data. But if you didn't like Obsidian, you could get rid of it today and still keep all of your information and easily port it over to a new system. There are some tools like Notion, which have become quite popular, especially with their AI integration, but it's very limited. And if you try to export your Notion data, it is a mess. Good luck importing anywhere else. They really try to keep you locked in. And like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to be locked in this day and age. Everything moves so fast and evolves so aggressively that you want that flexibility of controlling your data and being able to take it with you wherever you want. The next one is the ease of AI to be able to read Markdown. Markdown is nicely structured, a very simple syntax, so the learning curve is very small, and it just allows things to be structured in a way that AI can easily understand. There is benefits to using things like XML tags and whatnot, but those are so hyper specific that it really works better for prompts rather than structuring your data. And the third aspect of Obsidian I love is the plugins. Plugins give you so much capability. There is templates that you can go on GitHub to download from the Obsidian team to build your own. I developed the Obsidian plugin generator where you can have a simple chat with AI to develop your own plugin. But these plugins allow functionality not just within the vault, but within your computer system as a whole. And it exposes different APIs so you can really easily interact with things. And I got a few exciting ones to show you. The first thing that I want to touch on with my Obsidian setup is the dashboard. So I have a dashboard that loads whenever I open Obsidian, and it dynamically generates the things that I need to see most. So we have tasks. What's today's task? What's overdue? What are priorities? This is dynamically generated using things like Data View plugin and Tasks plugin, which I'll link both to. So by leveraging these, I'm able to create tasks in my daily notes, which I use with the calendar plugin, and have a collection of tasks that I get from meetings or that I meet throughout the day. And then I'll have it centralized in a specific dashboard so I can quickly see at the start of my day or at the start of a work bout what I need to prioritize most. Also, because I use my vault for personal as well as professional stuff, I have my health and fitness pages linked to it, so I can easily see where I'm at in my rowing program. I have a section for the next tool use episode where it'll link to the notes, and that's dynamically generated based on what's coming up next. I have stats, system health, important links. I have things that are developed for me. And the thing is, with these dashboards, you can make it completely tailored to your use cases. What things do you want to see? What would help you prioritize your day? By having a dynamically generated dashboard, you're able to really quickly get a glanceable view at what you have to do and then be able to feed those inputs like checking off a task or adding something new to a list. It'll feed through your system to where it needs to be. One community plugin that I really wanted to emphasize is Data View. I think Data View is so powerful. It might be a little intimidating because you are writing code. It supports both its own unique query language as well as JavaScript, which makes it so powerful. If you struggle with it, you can have Claude code running in your Obsidian vault, looking at the different dashboards and updating it for you. So you don't have to necessarily dive too deep into the docs, although getting an idea of how it works will be helpful, so I still encourage you to. But Claude Code will be able to help get you most of the way there, and then you can iteratively go back and forth to see what works. Maybe you want to pull tasks just from your daily notes, or maybe you also want to include it from your meetings, your people, your company lists. All of that is possible with Data View. And then on top of these community plugins that I recommend, I actually have developed more custom plugins than what I found on their community listing. And that's because of my Obsidian plugin generator. I can really quickly spin these things up. So I use my Obsidian Vault as a CRM. Every meeting I have, every person that I meet, every company they work for, that is stored in my Obsidian Vault, and it's linked to the different meetings and daily notes and whatnot, because it's very valuable for me to be able to quickly go through the flow of information. And with AI, it can follow these links. So I have one set up to do automatic meeting stuff, whether it's pulling in data from Granola or generating to-dos that we can follow up with later, or even being able to feed out into email systems. All that is hosted in meetings. And then, of course, with tool use, I have some podcast automations. So every time there's a new episode, it'll generate the new directory along with the required documents, and it'll get that set up. I've taken it one step further to when I finish editing and I export the transcript, the podcast automations are actually able to generate AI suggestions for titles, which are always terrible. We're not getting good at titles, unfortunately. The YouTube description's decent, but even things like manipulating the thumbnail. So I can take it from the regular 16:9 thumbnail and make it square for Spotify or other podcast show art. My Obsidian is able to do that. So you're not necessarily stuck with doing automations within Obsidian. You can get system processes or interact on files and systems outside of your app, outside of Obsidian, to make yourself more automated. So that's why I'm considering more of a digital brain than a second brain, because you're able to induce actions. It's not just storing and retrieving memories. You're able to actually act upon it, get intelligence from it, do a whole lot of things. So it's phenomenal. And one thing I definitely want to give a shout out to Steph Ango, or also known online as Capano, is the creator of Obsidian, and he has phenomenal writing. Check out his website so you can read more. There's a lot of great things, but he has some principles that he talks about with the way he sets up his Obsidian Vault, and I really like a lot of them. So he likes to use links and categories and tags instead of nested directories. So you're able to really deeply link different files to each other with Obsidian, with WikiLink style. So you can just simply make a reference to a person and link to the person's page. So you're able to more rapidly get context on that person. With nested directories, it's nice for a simple UI to click around, but you can rapidly, with Command O on Mac, open up the nodes that you're looking for. So you don't necessarily need to use the UI for everything. Where your fingers are already on the keyboard, you can just learn a few keyboard shortcuts and rapidly switch from the notes that you need to be focused on. Another concept he mentioned is fractal journaling and random revisiting, which I think is great. So you can really quickly spin up a partial note on Obsidian and then pull them together. So you can say all the notes made on this day can go into a centralized location, and then later on I can review those notes with his random revisiting and then figure out where these things actually belong to live. So you don't have to be constantly going through your vault to figure out what goes where and where information should live. You can randomly visit it later at a better time for you and just simply move things to the right location. Properties and templates to set up new nodes. I have a few templates set up. I definitely want to get more, but it makes it easy to pre-populate different bits of information. And later on, as you gather more information, say you have a meeting with someone in a brand new company. So you just simply have the company name, quick description of what they do. Later on, you find out their website or their LinkedIn page, all their other socials. You're able to add that into the template later on. So as I said, check out his website to get more of his writing. It's excellent. He does a lot of design stuff as well, which I think is phenomenal. And it really reflects in how powerful, flexible, and enjoyable it is to use Obsidian. The way you interact with a computer might be the biggest opportunity for improving your productivity. We've been using computers the same way for ages. Keyboard, mouse, typing, and it's really not optimal for bandwidth. 10 fingers cannot beat speaking speed, for an example. So what you'll want to do is reflect on the way that you use a computer, figure out what tools exist out there that might better align your optimal workflow with the way you interact with the computer, and then just start exploring and playing with it, because we don't have to be locked into these old paradigms. There is so much more opportunity for us to explore now. So I'm going to go over a few of the ways that I interface with my computer, both software and hardware, and then just give you a little inspiration, things you can explore, because it might work for you, it might not. Everyone's different, but the purpose is to make sure that you explore the opportunities to find out what works best for you. So by far, the biggest unlock that I've had has been voice transcription. It's made such a huge difference in my productivity. I can speak 10 times faster than I can type. When I get excited, it's probably like 20 times faster. And these modern transcription tools are just so good. You can add custom vocabulary, you can have corrections. I even have it where I say, insert my YouTube channel, and it'll put the URL instead of just verbatim transcribing it. And now I know that voice transcription is not appropriate for every situation. If you work in an open space, open concept office, it's not going to be great for you just rambling at your computer all day, but you should try to leverage it in the situations that do work for you. Maybe you go for a walk and you just like take notes as you go. Or you can book a meeting room when you have this big piece of work you have to get through. With speaking, you take advantage of different neural pathways than when you're typing. It really gives you a different output. And if you start prompting an LLM with speaking, sometimes typing, you can start seeing how you approach it differently and how you interact with it differently. And I think it can be massively beneficial. So right now I use Aqua Voice. It's good. I like it. I don't think I'll use it forever. It has had a few flaws, but for the most part, it's good. I used to use Super Whisper, also good. It's macOS only. Check that out if it works for you. There's an open source one, Handy, from CJ Pi, who was on an earlier episode and back on our episode 50. Support him, check it out, and really just see if it will work for you. Because even if nothing else, if you're just able to, at the start of your day, do a big brain dump into an Obsidian doc, into any markdown file, I guess, and just say what is on your mind, and then being able to take that output and have an AI structure it, maybe prioritize it. I know Ty back in the day made a tool, AI Prioritize, when you can just do that exact workflow to help structure your day to give you a bit more direction. It's really going to help unlock different aspects of organization and productivity, but you need to see what works for you. But the most important thing is just trying. On top of voice transcription of me just speaking at my computer, I also leverage Granola during meeting notes. So when I have a meeting, I'll have Granola running. It'll transcribe and then make notes based on that while still allowing me to have my own notes. I like Granola. Also not perfect. My current workflow is having Granola and Zapier work together because I want my meeting notes directly into my Obsidian. For some reason, there's no single export to Markdown or export to local directory function in Granola. But I made a Zapier flow where it takes my notes, does some manipulation to the title, saves it to a Google Drive. Google Drive is installed on my computer, symlinked to a Obsidian Vault. It's an unnecessarily complicated workflow just for taking meeting notes, pulling them over, which is why I'm not totally bullish on Granola. But the concept is there, being able to have AI actively do a task for you so you don't have to be worried about meeting notes. You can be fully engaged in the conversation, but it will augment the notes that you do take rather than just record a video of a call. That's kind of questionable. This is just transcription. So it works a lot smoother and it doesn't have the same privacy concerns. But like I said, Granola is not perfect, but it's something I use now. And then for hardware. So I'm not going to go too much into hardware, but one thing I do want to give a shout out to is my Moonlander keyboard. It's fully programmable, fully customizable. So I have workflows triggered by different keys. You can have different layouts depending on what app is open, or if I want to do things like music control or window control, I can do all that. And if you're on a Mac like I am, you can pair it with Hammerspoon. Hammerspoon is a free and open source app, and it exposes the Apple APIs, and it makes it so powerful. You can do Windows control, workflow automations, custom interfaces, so much more. I'm a huge fan of Hammerspoon being able to take either hotkeys or different types of keyboard shortcuts and then turn them into automations. And with my Moonlander keyboard, I'm able to very rapidly trigger it. My other hardware device that I want to give a shout out to is the Activity Dice. So it's a new device I've been using, and it really is a nice, cool tactile way of tracking my time. I have not had success with software trackers, but this is a good looking device that just sits on my desk and I'm able to just easily rotate it to trigger tracking another activity. And this is just another data point that comes into my digital brain. So I'm able to start seeing, how am I spending my time? Am I spending too much time making tool use videos versus building up the AI Academy versus making tooling itself? So I'm able to get the data to make a decision rather than just go off of vibes. And the more data you can collect, this should be your data hoarding period. Store all the data you can in a way that's somewhat structured. And as your tooling suite gets built out more, you can actually start leveraging the benefit of that data. We are accelerating towards a future where the way that we interface with compute is going to be entirely different. The things I touched on today are just intermediary steps. This isn't the end goal. Some people predict a future where there'll be no screens. Other people say, a slight little voice input, maybe the glasses form factor is going to be all that you need. We don't know how this is going to play out, but what we do know is right now there are better ways to capture your input and interact with your computer than the ways of old. You don't want to be typing at 1/10 the speed you can be speaking if that's an option for you. Maybe there's a webcam feature that can do posture checks or other things to make sure that not only are you maximizing your work, but you're maximizing your health so that you're able to work at an optimum pace anyways. There are so many new and novel ways for us to interact with our computer that the best thing you can do, and I'll say it a million times in this video, I imagine, is explore, experiment, and play. See what's out there, see what recognizes your accent the best, and just try to implement things that work best for you. A lot of automations need to leverage deterministic code rather than AI. The reason being is it's faster, it's cheaper, it's more efficient, and you're going to get more predictable results. But that doesn't mean you have to learn how to be a coder to benefit from this. One of the reasons I love promoting Cursor and Claude Code is it reduces the barrier for people to be able to create their own tools. This includes automations, scripts, workflows. Anything that can be done in code should probably be done in code. There's the benefit to having LLMs be a fuzzy interface when you can get unstructured input and then structure it for processing. Or maybe you need to customize the output for a given user or situation. So having LLMs at the ends of these pipelines makes a lot of sense. But throughout the central process of it, the main happy path, you want to minimize the use of LLMs because then you'll get a more predictable output and the other benefits that I mentioned. So for a lot of the scripts and automations I made, I actually just leverage AI coding. So I'll briefly touch on the type of tools that I use in order to generate these scripts. I do a pretty even split in my AI coding assistance between Claude Code and Cursor these days. So for Claude Code, you have to see the deep dive with Ray and Eric. It was an absolute masterclass on how to use it. They did such a phenomenal job. So I'm not going to get into too many details here as to how I use it, but I tend to use it when I want to do a fire and forget, where I give it a task that I can come back to and review later, or anything that operates in my Obsidian Vault, I'll leverage Claude Code for. And that's been really valuable for me. Cursor is still a big part of my workflow because I do review all the AI generated code. Just last week, a buddy caught AI trying to run a command with an incorrect filter that would have caused massive damage to his system. And I don't think AI will intentionally try to nuke your work, but mistakes do happen. You have to review your code. So I don't tend to use Claude Code as often with production systems, not because I don't think it's capable. I'll still use Opus 4.1 in Cursor, but I view the interface of dealing with the terminal that Claude produces to be easier for tasks that I don't have to babysit it for. With Cursor, you still get the central pane, the main editing window as my review board, if you will, where I can actually look at the changes, see if it introduced any new variables, if the file structure was changed, and that's just easier for me to consume than it is with Claude Code. One service I've been exploring a little bit lately is AMP. I really need to do a deep dive on it. Actually, if you want to see that, ping Ryan Carson, tag him on Twitter, ask if he'll come back on to teach us because he's the go-to guy for AMP right now. I think it has a lot of potential. I like that it's LM agnostic and they're not incentivized to either increase or decrease token usage, which you could argue Cursor and Claude have as a vulnerability to their true performance. Maybe Claude wants to increase the token usage with UltraThink. Maybe Cursor wants to decrease the token usage to help their margins. But with AMP, there's no financial incentive unless you're wanting to go with a business plan. But for regular people, you can just install it and use it, and it's strictly API use. And they're incentivized to optimize the performance of it. So I think there's potential there. Still haven't explored it, but something I want to look into a bit more. Since I'm pushing people towards the terminal, I do want to make sure everyone has the latest and greatest Unix utilities. So these are a dozen things that I've come across throughout my experimentation with all this terminal workflows that I've found made a meaningful impact to my productivity. And I'll link everything down below. I'll just speed run them right now, but check them out and see if you will benefit from any of these. I think you will. A lot of these are direct replacements for built-in utilities, but so much more performant. And this will just help optimize your workflows. So a 2in is a replacement for history. It's a great service. I've been a fan of it for a while. BAT replaces CAT. EZA is a replacement for LS. FZF is a fuzzy search. JQ lets you operate on JSON, and that gets really valuable when you start transmitting data back and forth. RipGrep is a faster version of grep. Starship is a shell prompt customizer. You gotta make your terminal pretty. TLDR is like man pages, but has examples, so this will help you learn from examples for commands. Tmux is a terminal multiplexer. This just allows you to have multiple panes open and you can go back to them later. This is really helpful if you're connecting to external systems. Might not be needed for everyone, but I wanted to make sure you knew about it. WTF, back from the Open Interpreter days, corrects errors in console commands and will rerun them correctly. Zoxide replaces CD. That's actually really cool because you can just simply press Z and then the name of the directory without having to go through all the paths to teleport there. Makes it a lot faster. And Delta is an improved Git diff. I'm sure there are tons. Please let me know if you use any others. I love experimenting with these, but these are a dozen that I think everyone would benefit from. Now I know not everyone wants to use the terminal, especially not for everything. There are some workflows where transitioning from GUI to terminal make a lot of sense. So I wanted to make sure that you knew about this one workflow that I find great. So macOS has this built-in application called Automator. It's for automating things. Get used to it. It's actually pretty cool. One cool thing is you can wrap scripts like Bash scripts or Python scripts in an app. That starts making things a lot more powerful. I also learned through talking with Claude that you can drag applications into the menu bar of Finder. So my workflow was I'd be operating in Finder doing something in the GUI, and I want to take that exact directory and open it in the terminal so then I can start processing it or doing more complex things directly in the terminal. So I created Open in Alacrity. Alacrity is my terminal emulator of choice. You can use Ghosty, you can use iTerm2, there's lots of options. So what I wanted was when I'm in a certain directory in Finder, I wanted to one click and open in the terminal already in that directory. So I used Cursor to generate the code that would do this. I used Automator to wrap in an application. And then I learned, like I said, that you can drag it into the menu bar. So now I have this one button that you can click and it'll open up the directory directly in the terminal. It's a small little thing, but it actually saved me a few seconds every time I had to do it. And it was such a frequent thing. And now, even though this itself might have probably saved the exact amount of time it took to make, I have the knowledge that I'm actually able to start adding UI elements to transition to my ideal workflow. So I don't have to always move things over in a certain way. I have the setup and now I know how to use Automator better. I know what's capable through the GUI. And all you have to do is start experimenting and think, hypothetically, how could I make this better? So this has been one of those aspects to a real world use case of bridging the gap between the GUI and the terminal that AI has enabled for me. And I hope it enables stuff for you as well. One other coding tool that I really like to use is MCP. But in order to get real benefits from it, you have to give it access to your real data and systems, and that can be kind of scary. So that's why I've been testing out ToolHive. ToolHive makes it simple and secure to use MCP. It includes a registry of trusted MCP servers. It lets me containerize any other server with a single command. I can install it in the client in seconds, and secret protection and network isolation are built in. You can try Toolhive too. It's free and it's open source. You can learn more at toolhive.dev. Now back to the productivity hacks. While I always prefer to build my own scripts and automations and workflows, tools are a whole different beast because there are so many brilliant people building brilliant tools that you don't have to build everything yourself. You can take something off the shelf and see if it works for you. So I wanted to go over a few tools that I use in areas that I have no expertise in or areas that I have no desire to build in, but that I get actual benefit from. And I also want to talk about a couple of tools or more like directions which haven't quite met my needs yet, but I really hope to see more innovation in the space. So to cover a few media tools, the first one that I make my thumbnails with and some other design work for is Canva. I am artistically challenged through and through. I'm no good at it, and it's okay. You don't have to be. And Canva makes it pretty easy. It is a good way for me to be able to get a template for a thumbnail and kind of iterate on it, make a few different copies, share it with people. I've been happy with it. They have a few built-in AI features like background removal, which makes adding the person to the thumbnail easy. And admittedly, I'm not a designer. I'm probably missing out a bunch of features, but it does make things relatively easy for me to use, and I've been very happy with it. The other graphics work I do is on Dingboard. If you are on Twitter, you're probably familiar with Dingboard, and it's how I make memes or anytime I want to make more fun images. What's really cool with Dingboard is most of the AI processing, if not all, runs directly in your browser. So you fire up an instance, and then you can drag and drop in different images. You can cut, you can tweak, you can manipulate it, squish it all together, and then download the output. And that works really well for quick things that don't have to be totally polished. You can like clean up the edges a little bit, but being able to put something together relatively quickly, I don't think it can be beat. It's just so much fun to be able to generate these fun little images through Dingboard. For more serious AI image generation, I use Ideogram. I don't know if it's the best. I've been happy with it. It's one of those things where because I don't have the optimal eye for making great images, it seems better than most. Maybe there's something better. I know Nano Banana just dropped, and that's probably going to take the supreme seat for image generation, but I've been happy with Ideogram. I don't know if I recommend it just because I'm not familiar enough with the landscape, but I've had no issues at all. For music generation, I use Suno, including the music that's in these episodes. If you remember the episode with Young Flo, he compared the different AI music generators, and I think Suno came out on top. There's probably different preferences for different situations, which would cause you to choose different ones. But I've never had an issue with Suno. It was the tool that got my dad into AI stuff, so I always have a soft spot for it. Anytime there's a family occasion, someone will make a song and just adds a little flair to it. I'm starting to hear more of the very clearly AI generated sound. And for some situation that doesn't matter, lyrics really show the AI aspect to it. For instrumentals, I find it can blend in more compared to real music, or should I say human generated music, depending on your take. But I've been happy with Suno. I would say check it out. And finally, for my video editing, I use Descript. I have mixed feelings about Descript. The best feature by far is that it'll automatically transcribe the videos you drag into the project, and then you can edit it like a Word doc. I'm so happy with that. Their features like eye contact and whatnot, I think are terrible. I think they're putting too much effort into niche, unpolished AI features just to say they have these AI features. But the core offering is really good. I just wish they improved stability. I can't quite recommend Descript, even though I really want to, because it's been helpful to me as someone with no video editing experience to be able to produce over a year of podcast episodes. But they just don't quite get the level of polish that I feel you need to replace a more seasoned, experienced video editing software. But if you're looking to quickly put together podcast episodes or demo videos, things where video editing is outside your area of expertise, Descripts work quite well for me. One area that a lot of people talk about, and I don't have a suggestion, there's no tool that's stuck in my workflow yet, is browser use. So I'm sure you heard of Comet by Perplexity. Seemed to have a lot of promise at first, but then Brave pointed out that there's a lot of vulnerabilities with it. We had people from Strawberry Browser on before, as well as plugins like Retriever. And there's promise there. We want these agents to be able to operate on the web on our behalf, but we're still early and they make mistakes and we don't have the same control to roll back or undo changes on the open web rather than on our local machines. So I personally don't trust a lot of these agents to operate on my email. There can be things like Superhuman that'll help organize your email. I used Shortwave before, which is like a Gmail wrapper that helps you draft emails without actually sending. Like it'll get you part of the way there, But I found there's very few instances where I don't want to write my own emails because writing is akin to thinking, and it's very important that we don't let AI take away too much of our writing. If it's a generic thing that I'll send over and over, sure, I can let an AI take a template and run with it, do a little customization. But for the most part, if I'm writing something to someone, I want it to be from me. So AI can't quite succeed there in my workflow yet. For people who want to do things like booking a flight or all those classic demos that really might save a bit of time, I am not comfortable with the AI making decisions that involve like transactions. I don't want it purchasing anything on my behalf. We've run experiments before and it's not great yet. There's still promise. I'm still optimistic, still bullish, but I don't currently use anything to operate the web on my behalf. There are, however, tools like Browser Base or Exa or Firecrawl, which will actually do web behaviors behind the scenes, like searching, crawling, retrieving information. And that I'm all for. Pull in as much as you can. Let's automate it. Let's get it so it's ingest for our systems. But to actually do the actions, I haven't found one that I like yet. So if you know any, let me know. I'd love to try out more. But for now, web browsing is just an input to my more robust, mostly deterministic systems rather than let it run off on its own. One caveat I will say, if you leverage a system like E2B or you're able to Dockerize environments to have the AI operate in, that can be safer. But again, it's not necessarily what you're worried about on your machine. It's the web and the one direction aspect of it. It's also a risk where people can embed hidden text in ASCII characters or invisible text on websites, things that can lead an agent down a wrong path that you won't see. And the web is the Wild West. There's so much, it is pretty much infinity opportunity for malicious behavior on the internet. And if you let an AI get some credentials, if you give it your credit card and just release on the internet, you have to be willing to accept the consequences of that risk. And that's just somewhere where I'm not at yet. But being able to build a system that can ping a URL, pull back all the data, process it, and present me with some information that's helpful to my workflows, very bullish on that. So explore those tools, but be careful when you're using AI on the open internet. There's just a lot of risks involved with it. So one tool that I guarantee everyone here is using, but I want to touch on a few different opportunities that it presents is just a chat interface, a chatbot. Whether you go on ChatGPT or use Claude or whatever other LLM provider you want, the things that you do with chat can be very impactful in your productivity. I want to go over two big use cases. So the first is using it as a thought partner. When you're starting your day, planning a project, planning a script, it's very easy to just ask it to give you a prompt that you can give to a coding LLM or just go directly to the coding LLM. But if you take a step back and put more energy into the planning process, you're able to come to a better result faster. And it doesn't just have to be when generating an output. You can talk about strategizing. And this carries across the entire spectrum of your life. It can be a professional or personal. If you want to strategize a weight loss plan, having a thought partner as to what is realistic expectations for both your calorie restrictions, your exercise plan, your dietary habits, being able to bounce it off of an entity to get extra insight is going to be valuable. If you're playing out a script, thinking about different perks to your operating system or different benefits to using one language over another. It might be a dead end, but it might actually expose something to help you think about things more deeply. So I encourage people who either are in my AI Academy or just hire me for coaching is just have the little chat interface open at all times. Go over, ask a little question. If it's super basic, ask Jan, ask your favorite local model, and then it can just bounce some ideas off you. If it's something more complex and you need some more planning, ask Claude. Enable thinking so it can go deep into it. Get web search so you can get the most up-to-date information. But you want to get into a habit of getting a second opinion on things. And this isn't to say the AI should drive your decision making. It absolutely should not. Remember, LLMs are probabilistic, so it is going to give you the probably best answer, very middle of the road, very unopinionated in many ways, plus whatever censorship or guardrails that the provider puts on will definitely bias its decision. Or recommendation. But if you are driving the decision and you're simply asking for an extra set of eyes, someone to give you a bit of feedback on it, the AI can help fill that gap. The other one is actually as a AI therapist. And I had mixed reviews. If you look back at some old videos, I was very opposed to it, but eventually I came around to seeing it as a viable tool, not to replace human therapists, but to actually enable a more open and transparent conversation with things bouncing around in your head, to get to a more comfortable place and to mostly establish strategies and tools that you can have to think through things clearly. Hi Neum was on recently, and the first time he came on, he was talking about how going to a therapist is understanding how you think and can give you superpowers that way. And while an AI can't go to the same extent, I have found that if you're willing to be transparent and open with the thoughts that are on your head, it can help you process them. And one big thing with productivity is, can you be focused? And if you're distracted because of the hardships of life, because everyone deals with a whole bunch of hard stuff, you're able to become more present on your task and be able to focus more deeply if you can even give yourself temporary relief from the stresses that is life. So if you're able to just brain dump in the morning, the things that are bothering you, the things that are concerning you, the things that you know you have to deal with, it just gets them out of your head. It's like writing them down, but verbally. I still encourage you, write things down. And if you can do so in a way where that can be an input to your system, all the better. But it's very important to get what's inside out in a safe manner that you're comfortable with. And if you're able to give some of that to an AI just to get a little bit of feedback, it'll help you get through that moment. It'll help you take your next step, be a little more productive for the next period of time until you can get either help you need, guidance you need, or even just feedback from another human to help you get to the right place. But sometimes you'll be lying in bed, unable to get to sleep because the stresses of the workday are bouncing around. And if you just say it out loud to an entity and have something go back being like, I understand, here is some strategies to fall asleep faster, it might actually help you get a better night's sleep, making tomorrow an even productive day. So I would say before you go off at the idea of using an AI as a therapist, just have a conversation with it the next time something's bringing you down. You might be surprised with the suggestions it has, and they can be pretty thoughtful and insightful and might give you more tools and insight to understand how your brain works, what is helping you escape from a spiral, and then you'll be able to be more productive just because you're in a better state of mind. Well, that was a lot. It also feels like it wasn't that much at the exact same time. I can go deeper into detail on any of these topics, and I'm really curious to see what resonated most with you. What do you want to see more on? What can I double click to explore more deeply? Please let me know. There's a few things I do want to bring to your attention just to make sure you're aware of it. Things like the sycophancy or the irrational disagreeability of LLMs if you tell them, be critical. You can't always trust the outputs, and I encourage you to not trust the outputs. Validate, double check, make sure there's a human in the loop. You might want to optimize productivity and just say, AI, go crazy and just full throttle ahead, no guardrails. But you're going to end up spending more time fixing things if you go down the wrong path or if there's mistakes along the way. So these are fully intended on augmenting you, not replacing you. And it goes the same with your workflows. Augment your workflows, don't replace it. If you can use deterministic code, that's reliable. It will produce the correct output more frequently. So make sure that you use the LLM to generate code rather than just call the LLM to do a certain tasks. The one example I have is my thumbnail generator, the square thumbnail generator. If you ask the AI to do every single time, it'll work 9 times out of 10, but then sometimes it'll go off the rails. It might install the wrong library. But if you have the AI generate the code to do it, it happens instantly every single time. And then you can trigger that from your Obsidian vault. So you start getting these interconnected pathways. There's so much more that we need to explore, but I wanted to give you the foundation so that you understand how I've become massively more productive with the help of these systems and get inspiration. What works for me might not work for you, but the principles remain. Figuring out your processes, the step-by-step instructions that you go through in your head automatically or consciously, and then being able to start offloading that to technology. There's so much more to cover. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Tool Hive for supporting the show so I can do these nerdy deep dives and teach you the things that I've learned over the years, but I want to go a lot deeper. So please let me know what you want to see, and then I'll see you next week.